All right, folks, it is Thursday, April 10th, 2025, and a lot is going on in the world as usual. Hope of finding survivors in the Dominican Republic club roof collapse fade as the death toll rises to more than 200 is that area and all along those lines. So definitely that is one of the things coming out of South America and the South American area and everything like that. But Trump's Iran talks raises big questions on Capitol Hill. Trump wants an Iran nuclear deal, but it must be better than Obama's. So definitely it looks like anxious Iranians are hoping that the nuclear talks may ease the risk of a U.S. attack. And Zelensky claims that 155 Chinese are fighting for Russia, and Ukrainian intelligence says it has identified 155 Chinese citizens fighting for Russia. So that's something that's going on, and China warns against irresponsible remarks after the Kyiv claims on Chinese fighters. And France could recognize a Palestinian state in June, says Emmanuel Macron, as things are going on in that space. Definitely that is something going on as the Gaza death toll has reached 50,846 as of a few days ago. So it's probably even climbed above that at this particular point. And The Economist editor unpacks the biggest trade policy shock of Trump's tariffs. So China has been hit with 104% tariffs as stocks slump a couple of days ago. But I did hear there was a little bit of a rebound as well. So Donald Trump apparently dropped the tariff bombshell, sparked a trade war, then applies brakes. So it looks like there are some brakes, except for with China and all along those lines. So I think there's like a 90-day pause or something like that. And Trump order threatens cancellation for over budget delayed Pentagon programs. So modernizing defense acquisitions and spurring innovation in the defense industrial base. So Trump directs Pentagon to tee up major acquisition programs for potential cancellation. And it looks like there is, according to ABC, video showing 4 captive Ukrainian troops killed by a man identified as Russian forces. So definitely, like I said, that war is just continuing to rage on. I don't think that there's any talk right now of a successful ceasefire or anything like that, but we'll continue to follow that here and see what else goes on there, just like we're following what's going on in Israel as well. New Zealand lawmakers reject a proposed law to redefine the country's founding treaty that is out there as well. So New Zealand politicians sing as bill that sparked massive protests is annihilated. So definitely it looks like they have rejected a controversial indigenous law and everything in that space. So definitely that's going on in New Zealand. Israeli strike on Gaza residential building kills 29. That was reported on yesterday as a medic reported that. And definitely there are even health officials that are agreeing with that as well. So definitely a lot's going on in that space. And Spain defends closer trade ties with China after the U.S. warns against cutting its own throat. So Spain premier says U.S. tariffs pause opens door to bargaining. So definitely looks like the foreign ministry spokesperson Lynn Jeans had a regular press conference on April 8th, but Spain is pushing for EU pivot to China to counter those Trump tariffs. But it does look like there could be some conversations between Spain and the U.S. now as well. Israel and Turkey hold Syria deconfliction talks to avoid military clash. So the prime minister's office says talks with Turkey on Syria aimed at preserving security stability. So Turkey and Israel have begun talks to avoid clashes in Syria, according to sources in that area. So definitely there are some negotiations going on in certain places as well. And Saudi Arabia foreign minister in the U.S. to plan Trump's visit to that particular kingdom and all along those lines. So Secretary Rubio had a meeting with Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. So it looks like the U.S. and Saudi Arabia are pushing for a resumption of Sudan peace talks. So definitely, it looks like that is something going on as well. And Trump may be visiting Saudi Arabia in the near future. And hundreds of Israeli Air Force reservists have been called for halt to Gaza war. So Israeli reservists fired after calling for hostage release, even if it requires immediate truce. So definitely, Israel's prime minister rejects criticism of Gaza war by Air Force reservists. So that's something going on, and some people are disagreeing with their government's leadership in different parts of the world. U.S. restores urgent food aid, except in Afghanistan and Yemen. So that's something else that we talked about on a couple of days ago, and it's still out there in the news and all along those lines. And China's military buildup threatens the Indo-Pacific region security. So HASC chair says accelerate AUKUS to deter China and North Korea. So it's kind of like those blocks that I think Sasha was talking about, are trying to figure out how they're going to combat their folks that they perceive as the folks that are going against them, and all along those lines. U.S. exits carbon talks on shipping, urges others to follow, according to a document that was out there yesterday. So U.S. is threatening to retaliate against plans to make ships pay for carbon emissions. So Trump tells countries to axe talks on shipping carbon tax or else. So that's something else that is in the news as well. So definitely lots going on. And also Russia launched an offensive in Sumy and Kharkiv regions, according to a top commander from the Ukraine. So definitely a Ukraine military chief says the new Russian offensive has begun. So definitely that's going on. And of course, there's a lot of other things taking place as well. Let's see what's happening in the U.S. And I'll bring in Rick Rosner and see who else I've got here with me as well. Mike Johnson, that is, has delayed the budget vote as GOP defectors are balking. So Johnson says Republicans have the votes to pass the budget resolution. So we'll see if that holds up or not. But it does look like the House GOP infighting, at least temporarily, has stalled Trump's tax and immigration bill. And China reaches out to others as Trump layers on tariffs. So U.S. and China headed for a monumental split, putting the world economy on edge. So definitely the U.S. and China are still in a trade war, even though some of the other trade war has at least been put on halt, at least for now. And Moscow frees a U.S. Russian ballet dancer jailed over a charity donation, according to the U.S. So Russian American ballerina Kasyana Karolina has been released in a prisoner swap with Moscow, and she had been jailed over a $50 gift that was in one of those charity donations, but she has been freed in Russia as part of a prisoner swap. And a Maryland man was found dead at an Atlantis resort in the Bahamas. Police in Bahamas say a Maryland man was found dead on Resort Beach, drowned and everything. So definitely it looks like the Maryland officials had revealed that the Maryland man Denaro Macomont's cause of death after the body was found on the beach. So definitely that's something going on as well. And global markets soar after President Trump's tariff pause. So it looks like the tariff pause is definitely causing the market to soar, and the EU has suspended its retaliatory 25% tariff on U.S. goods after Trump's U-turn. So, and New York and Texas rulings curb deportations of Venezuelans to El Salvador. So, judge in Texas and New York pause removal under the Alien Enemies Act. So, we'll see what folks have to say about that as well. And more than 300 student visas revoked as the government is expanding reasons for revoking these visas and everything like that. So hundreds of students and dozens of colleges were hit by Trump's visa purge. And even the Ohio State president released a statement after 7 students lose F1 visas. We were not formally notified, is what that particular president said. And looks like Trump signs order punishing those who opposed his 2020 election. So definitely Trump targets anonymous author and former top cybersecurity official in one of his latest moves, and all in that space. And Panama and the U.S. lock in new security pact for canal as China tensions simmer. So U.S.-China rivalry over Panama Canal sparks tensions, leaving Panama caught in a war of words. So definitely, Pentagon chief is even saying that U.S. could revive the Panama bases. An alleged MS-13 leader asked judge for delay after the Department of Justice moves to dismiss that particular case. The Department of Justice is asking to dismiss the Virginia case against a Salvadorian accused MS-13 leader set to be deported. So feds move to drop the criminal case against man they previously called a major gang leader and everything like that. So we'll see what goes on there, whether he still gets the trial or whether he gets deported or what happens in that. And MAGAs are gearing up for a proxy war in Texas. There's even an article in the NBC News says con man versus anti-Trump. Years of Republican fighting fuel a nasty Senate primary in Texas. So Ken Paxton announced his U.S. Senate run challenging Senator John Cornyn. So GOP rift grows over Cornyn's Senate seat as Trump pressured to take sides. So we'll see which side he takes in that particular sense and all in that way face. So there's even some people that are questioning whether Trump misrepresented facts about coal as he signed that particular executive order asking for some benefits to the coal industry and everything like that. And the wife of Weezer bassist is shot by LAPD doing a hit and run manhunt, accused of attempted murder. So, Weezer bassist wife shot by police, booked on suspicion of attempted murder. So that is author Jillian Lauren, who was arrested after being shot by the police and all along those lines. And the U.S. is to check social media as it seeks to bar non-citizens suspected of anti-Semitism. So the U.S. will monitor immigrant social media for anti-Semitic activities. So they said that they're now doing that in totally and all along those lines. So Gretchen Whitmer's unexpected Oval Office invite highlights balancing act with Trump. So definitely that's something going on. And the Telegraph said that the meeting with Trump was effing disastrous for the Democratic presidential hopeful. So Trump offers rare praise for Michigan Governor Whitmer as she appears with him in the Oval Office. So I guess she's one of the people lining up to be a potential candidate in the 2028 elections. So we'll see how this all plays out. And now I'm going to bring in my folks and see what they've got to say about a number of these stories. I've got Rick Rosner with me. I've got Dr. Sharif from Bangladesh in that area, and Nick's hanging out in the background as well. So a lot's going on in the world and around the world. So what is y'all's take on the number of these stories, including the 90-day pause?
Well, Paxton running for Senate. He's the Attorney General. He seems to be one of the sleaziest, grossest. He was impeached in Texas. He was having a blatant affair with a woman, was firing anybody who knew about it. He had to pay $6 million to whistleblowers about his corruption. He's a terrible guy, but Texans love him. They love their terrible political leadership. So we'll see if people are kind of hopeful because Dems want Cornyn and Paxton to just tear each other to bits in the primary, and then Paxton to win, and then not be able to get a majority of the vote in the general because he's such a sleazy guy.
And that could possibly happen. By the way, Terry McCann was asking, did Trump commit trade secret violations yesterday with his comment and post? Now is a great time to buy. And then did a tariff pause causing the stocks to soar? And I don't know.
He probably did, but he's got a certain amount of impunity. Nobody's going to prosecute him for it. You know, if you took his advice and jumped into the markets yesterday when he said to buy, I don't know, you'd make 12% on your money in one day or something?
Yeah, pretty good.
Nick, was it a trade secret violation? Did he do
Doesn't matter. I mean, the Supreme Court granted him immunity, so it doesn't matter. But what it does tell people is that you should listen to the President of the United States and listen to me, because I told you he's going to turn this around. Don't listen to Sasha. Sasha said, no, the United States is going to continue going down. Wait a minute, Sasha's in the background. let's bring
Plus,
them
it's in the
forward.
front
I
now,
listened.
and
I
everything,
listened
so-
to Sasha. I bought and then I sold, and I bought $250 worth of stuff, and I made $27 in profit.
We had
Well, you should
another
look at
comment from
profit better
Terry.
then.
Yeah, we had another comment from Terry as well, and I wanted to know your thoughts about this. But she says Trump is using Facebook and Instagram and X posts to target and punish people who say negative things about him. So is he using social media to target folks?
Well, my wife is very freaked out because she saw the cases where the AG Pam Bondi and the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, are going after people who criticize Trump, looking for reasons to prosecute him. My wife is saying, get off Twitter, shut up, please, please don't do Naked at Night anymore. I don't want you to get taken away. I don't want to be like you. I don't want us to be detained at the border. So, what do you think? Are we entering the period in which U.S. citizens can be harassed for political expression?
They're going to take me away, my friend. The funny part. Life is beautiful all the time, and I don't think I have anything.
There is much more dangerous than being taken away. It's your legal bill, 25, maybe $50,000. This is much more dangerous because if you will be taken away, so you'll spend a couple of weeks in jail, maybe even 6 months. It's not so terrible. The $50,000 bill, that's what's really terrible. And it doesn't matter whether you win or you lose.
You
50,000.
lose once you go to court. I know that.
Once you go to court and everything like that. Speaking of that big bill and everything, I'm just wondering because I fought them not that long ago and they weren't and everything, but I know a lot of folks are very big into their Nike, their Adidas, and everything like that. So with 104% tariff, shoes are already expensive and everything. But are we going to start buying $300 shoes and everything that aren't even just designer brand
No.
and everything like that?
No,
Because
you guys are crazy. We're going to buy from Bangladesh. We're just not going to buy Chinese stuff. We
So
got
is this a sure, Dr.
Frank
Sharif, is this
here who'll
is
sell
this
us
a
all the
win?
goods we need.
Is the
We don't need to
trade
go to
war with
China. We just go
China-
to Pakistan.
is the trade war with China a windfall for Bangladesh manufacturing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, wait, we can let Dr.
Dr.
Sharif
Sharif
answer that. But let me tell you something. If the United States and China get into a trade war, countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, and frankly, the rest of the world benefit because they don't have to compete against the Chinese with U.S. business. But take it away, Dr. Sharif. You're winning. Your voice isn't winning. We
your
can't
voice
hear you.
is muted. I don't know what's going on with your. I don't hear you. Still don't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Something's going on with this.
Houston, we have a problem.
Can you hear me?
Now we hear you.
Let's hear what's happening in Bangladesh.
Just today, we finished the investment summit in Bangladesh, and largest company and investor from around the world, from North America, from Europe, from Asia Pacific, and Middle East, they visit Bangladesh. Around 550 investors come to Bangladesh, and they are planning to invest in our garments industries. They're planning to invest our manufacturing, our economic zone, our startups. That is very interesting. So I agree with Mr. Nick Palveda. Like if this China and USA trade war continue, so a small country like Bangladesh, Pakistan, some point India, and Vietnam, they will be benefit from this war because many manufacturer come to Bangladesh, they manufacture their products and they send it to USA. And beside that, last few days I share with you that it will be negotiable. So things is that Bangladesh already provide more than 100 products, 0% tariff for USA. Let's say we will buy LNG from USA, we will buy agricultural product from USA, we will buy cotton because we have a biggest manufacturing hub for garments industry, but we buy cotton from USA, and definitely healthcare related products and many more things, and it will be zero tariff for USA. So also Dr. Muhammad Yunus request for, I think many countries request for 90 days pause. So already USA agree with Bangladesh or all of the country except China. But this is true if but another things like I just hear from the summit, many Chinese investors also want to visit. 100 Chinese investors want to visit Bangladesh Investment Development Authorities office in next 1 month. Maybe they want to invest more because they can understand that they will not survive in between China and USA fight. So they may want to more invest. So definitely you are correct. Country like Bangladesh, they will be benefited if this continue.
Yeah, definitely, that sounds interesting. Everything. Hey, Sasha. Speaking of China and everything along those lines, apparently Zelensky says that not just the North Koreans, but apparently some Chinese have also been captured that are part of the Russian forces now. So, what is your thoughts on this? Is China joining forces with Russia, and is that making it harder for Ukraine? Because apparently y'all captured like about 155 or something like that, is what Zelensky said. So is there an influx of Chinese coming into the Russian army?
The problem is not so much with 155 Chinese fighters. The problem is that Russia recruits people to fight Ukraine all over the world through social media. It's involving countries, even like former Soviet Union republics like Tajikistan or Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. It involves Syria. What they're doing is they're luring people through social media, promising, for example, a free education. Why wouldn't anybody think that free education is well worth it? Okay, they're arriving to Russia for a day and a half. They explain them something, physics or mathematics, and then they say the further education you will get somewhere else, and they're getting them on the front lines, and they don't last there more than a day or two, so there's no accountability of anything. Some others are being lured by big money. Okay, you will sign a contract for 24,000 US dollars, right? Who wouldn't dream about such things? Okay, you're coming, you're signing a contract. It doesn't mean that you get money right away. No, no, you have to fight for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, you will get $24,000. Okay, there are a lot of idiots around the world, and but they don't last long because Ukrainians are very efficient in actually killing Russians and non-Russians and all others. Very good job. So these people, they're arriving. There's very little education, no money, and certain death. That's really what's happening there. Makes me laugh. I mean,
That's pretty funny, but it's also pretty stupid and evil. I mean, can you imagine they're luring people in from all over the world, promising them all this stuff? Here's your education. Here's a gun. Those are Ukrainians. You're going to learn to fight. If you don't, you die, but we don't care. I mean,
I'm surprised that Trump never opened a campus of Trump University in Russia. That Trump University is a pure Russian business. So
it would be a great business.
There.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They could have Trump University in Moscow.
Yeah, maybe we can get Trump University in Moscow and everything like that. Hey, just really quickly, and Nick, I think you'll love this idea because it had to do with native rights and everything like that. But then another part of the world, New Zealand rejected a bill because they were having some people that were trying to realign a treaty that had been signed way back in 1840 between the British Crown and more than 500 Maori chiefs and everything that laid down how the parties agreed to govern, and somebody wanted to come in there and change that and kind of like find some certainty and clarity, which is always a good thing to have and everything like that. But apparently that got voted down, and when it got voted down because the Native Americans or the First Nation people were feeling that it could hurt their place in New Zealand and everything, there was some major singing and everything. So I was wondering, would we have that in the U.S.? Could we get some major singing if there are bills instead of all this arguing between Trump and the Democrats and everybody else and everything? So maybe if there are bills that are signed, like a budget bill, we can have some singing in the Congress. What do y'all think? Will it work?
No, we can't have Americans all agreeing, because if not, the thing is we can't get people to sucker into sending money to the Republican and the Democratic parties. I mean, the whole reason both the parties try to divide Americans, and they work very hard at it, because they want your hard-earned dollars to go to their campaigns, to go to their national groups, wherever they are. The best thing to do is resign from the Democratic and Republican Party, because they don't really, they're not there to benefit Americans and having Americans work together. They're there to separate Americans and separate them philosophically, and then separate them from their money. And,
speaking of separating people and everything along those lines, and maybe Rick's got some thoughts around this. I thought that Gretchen Whitmer and Trump were like mortal enemies, but they came there and somehow managed to have a meeting. Maybe it was one of them White House photo ops and everything. So what's going on with Gretchen Whitmer meeting with Trump?
It's a good question.
I don't know. She's probably trying to eventually win the Senate. Newsom's doing the same thing.
Yeah, Newsom's doing the same thing. They're both realize that if you're going to win the White House, you got to win the Senate, which means you got to stop all this agita. But both of them can actually be decent candidates for the presidency. There's no question about it. But we really have to get away from this party hack stuff. I just can't handle how right, left, and all the garbage that people eat on both sides of it. My best suggestion is just get rid of the parties. I mean, why do we have a Democratic and Republican Party? It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's
raise money.
Thank you, Sasha. Something
raise money.
It's all about money.
Money.
Yeah, they want to separate. They need to make sure that you're upset with whatever you're thinking about, and that we're going to solve the problem because we're a party that will solve your problem, so they can separate you from your money. That's it. Okay, there's no other reason for existence for either party. So my recommendation is to collapse the Democratic and Republican Party. I believe they don't even have a Democratic Republican Party over in Bangladesh, do they?
Well, they have different other. Do they have parties, or how are they governed? What is their government system in Bangladesh?
Yeah, do you guys have parties like we do over here, Dr. Shree?
Yeah, you are asking like Bangladesh government recent format?
Yes.
Okay, this is not political party. This is actually after the political party new government come after the revolutions of the students. So you can call it's actually new revolutionary government. Now our country chief is Dr. Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel laureate. And we have different ministries and advisors. They support these governments. But all of the party, except the previous government, support these governments, including armies and civil society. They support this government. But definitely we need elections. Maybe next year, June, we can see another elections. But honestly speaking, how good things happening in Bangladesh in terms of economy, reducing corruptions, developing systematic different constitutional development. Everything is reforming. Our banking system reforming, our educational system reforming, our constitution reforming, our different ministry reforming, business culture is reforming. Most people want this government to stay another 5 years. So this, I don't know, this can be a model, new model for the global communities. But how Dr. Muhammad Yunus handled the global politics and the local politics, he become very popular with his good initiative. So that is the freedom things I always want to share with Mr. Nick. Like always the good people, good intelligence people like you, they have to contribute in the politics. They have to come to politics. They can create more values for the society. They can add more thing for the society. Then I think what we are doing every day, the debating and argument, everything comes, it will be more action oriented and more futuristic society. That is my understanding.
Do you have the freedom to criticize your government, or will that get you in trouble?
Yes. Now everybody, our media, any wrong thing happen. Let's say we find that one of the product prices increase, right? So like everybody criticized to the governments. So government right the and in social media, you can just Google in social media, you can find that Dr. Muhammad Yunus, everything, even how he negotiating with Trump, he published it in social media. And if I have any criticize, I can go there and criticize him. So that is the beauty of the new society. Perhaps we are very small country, but it's more like it. But I'm honestly speaking, many people, those who contributing in the Western world, as a like Bangladeshi, let's say, I know one guy, he is contributing the transportation sectors in California last 30 years. Now he came back to Bangladesh and doing excellent jobs, planning for transportations and all of the things. So Western knowledge, Western mindset, Western culture also valuable for our cultural improvement.
Sounds good and everything. Hey, Sasha, y'all have an election coming up soon, don't you? When is that
Yep.
election, and what is the take on that election currently? I know that right now, I think Mark Carney is the leading person and everything like that. But what is the take on the elections as of now?
That's an interesting question, Mark. It's hard to say at this point. The Carney is leading. Although before he became prime minister, the progressive conservative, he was leading enormously. But now the lead is with Carney, and it's very difficult to predict. It seems to me that there probably will not be a majority government. It will be um, uh, some kind of a coalition. NDP probably. Usually they side with liberals, so it might as well be this time again. Um, so in this case, if election would be held today, I think that Carney would win and form government together with the New Democratic Party NDP. But there's still about more than 2 weeks before the election, so anything can happen, and it will be a close call. Carney is in the lead right now. I wanted to address something interesting what's happened yesterday, and Nick, you may offer your opinion whether there was illegal insider trading happening yesterday, because it's not only insider trading. I looked at it briefly. It's not just that you trade on inside information. It's also a person who assisted others to trade on inside information. And here we are going with around 10 o'clock in the morning. There was a tweet from how you call it, tweet right now? It's no longer Twitter, but okay, tweet is still there. Okay, Trump said it's time to buy stocks. DJT. He never endorses his messages with his name, but this time he put DJT, and DJT is happened to be his stock, which yesterday benefited more than any other stock on the planet. It went up more than 20%. So, as the theory goes in that he, on purpose, sends this message to encourage his friends and others to buy that particular stock, profit tremendously in just hour and a half maybe, and that constitutes elements of insider trading. Nick, what do you think?
Well, that's a very good question, because that's been an accusation that has plagued Congress for years, including heavily the Democratic Party.
Nancy Pelosi, remember?
Nancy Pelosi being one of them, and others, because they have a certain amount of inside information as to how Congress is going to vote on certain issues, which can benefit some companies, and then they can trade relating on that. Currently, to my knowledge, there's been no prosecutions and nothing involving congressional and political insider trading. And 10b-5, which is the section you're looking at, the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, they don't really address it when it comes to governmental insider trading. I believe also they'll have another hurdle. That's presidential immunity, which is granted by the Supreme Court for, quote, official acts. So I think, and then the third part is who's going to bring the cause of action? Department of Justice of the United States. It's controlled by Trump. So you got a lot of problems here, Sasha. You have a DOJ controlled by Trump. You have a Supreme Court heavily influenced by Trump, and you have a law that's ambiguous. So I would say that it's much ado at this point in time.
And I want to add, he's doing exactly what he did during COVID when he issued the PPP loans, billions of dollars, 89% not used as agreed to be used by businessmen who understand contracts, and then they didn't have to pay them back. Well, he's going to get rid of the taxes so that people don't have to pay taxes on the gains for their stock trades. And so there you go. I mean, you got to look at all the sleight of hand and the smoke screens to understand what's really going on. I'm not even picking this up. I'm sorry. This is my own conspiracy theory by adding up what is going on and why. But, that's why. This is a good way to reward those who have treated him nice. Now, I looked at Terry McCain's comment about, Trump is using Facebook and Instagram and X posts to target people and punish them who say negative things, of course, about him. Yeah, that's already being done. The one social media site that wasn't mentioned in some of the reports that I read was, guess who? TikTok, because they can't put their AI into TikTok. Now, TikTok is doing their own form of censorship. It is their own form of censorship. But then I kind of woke up this morning and I said, I think I know why. Because he's training the people how to properly behave during this time. So he's already telling people, don't say this, don't say that, be careful about saying this. But they didn't mention that TikTok was being used to target people with their AI system. The only people that are being targeted right now are the people that get their clutches in, which is anything controlled by Meta or Musk. So Meta and Musk, which are X, Facebook, Instagram, and I'll have to go check. I think Pinterest might be part of that. But anything that is controlled by Meta or Musk will be targeting people. And I was listening to you guys before I came in. So Rick, yeah, your wife is right. Probably best not to post anything or say anything negative. Now I will say this, they can't get their clutches into our social media platform. And, my goal is once we get it up and running a little bit better, to probably put it on a server in another country. But anything that is not controlled, again, by Musk or Meta, they cannot run the AI through. And I tested this by posting things that go from my site, say, into Facebook. If I posted that same thing directly on Facebook, they would slam me in Facebook jail. But when I posted it streaming from my site into Facebook, for some reason AI couldn't scan it. So they would only scan what I typed in the post part, but not what I beamed in. So
there might be different ways to get around things, and everything. You got to be careful. Everything. There was a question that came up during the last administration, the Biden administration, but apparently it's coming up again because some people are complaining that Trump has got some skin issues, and also that he's doing some stuff that makes him seem like he might be having some mental issues. I understand that he called H.M. McMaster, who is a general that he fired accidentally, and all along those lines, and he was praising the powers of the shower and his good hair on his Twitter and everything like that. So, Jatovia or anybody else, what is our thoughts as to?
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell whether he's in mental decline, because he just says whatever the F he wants at any given moment. If people just talk word salad all the time, and he's been a blowhard. He's used to go on Howard Stern every couple of weeks and just say whatever and talk about, people's boobs and stuff. So if somebody's been, I mean, we have this issue with my mother-in-law, who was not a brilliant woman. And, as she declined into Alzheimer's, it was hard to tell whether the nonsense she said was based on Alzheimer's or just because she'd always said nonsense.
Well, and I think, he trained us for that, right? I'll just throw anything out there and then people will forgive me or forget, and then he moves on. I mean, he has had years of doing this. There's actually a funny video of him on some TV music show when he was younger dancing. He looks like that floaty thing that you see when people are trying to get your attention, the big balloon of,
Right.
But anyway, he was just always like that. And I think that was perfect training the public of, hey, I say crazy things, you forgive me, and I will move on. So we won't know when he goes crazy. We'll know when
his dad died of Alzheimer's. His dad showed symptoms starting at about age 85 and died of it at 92. Trump is going to turn 79 in a couple months.
Yeah, and the thing is, he should really make sure he gets his vaccines in place, because the shingles vaccine, they say, reduces the chance of Alzheimer's 20%. So he probably needs to get that. And on Alzheimer's or dementia, that's a real problem that men face when they hit their 80s and 90s. I mean, so there's not much.
No, they're cutting off funding to care for people with Alzheimer's, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Medicaid has been cut. I know it's very difficult for people to even access the site now.
Well, now's the time for Nick to do an ad, because you used to be able to long-term care insurance.
We are.
Prepare.
But now long-term care insurance is prohibitively expensive. So Nick, what is the solution?
Okay. Here's what we have. We have what they call asset-based long-term care. Now, this keeps the expenses down, and I'll have to bring one of our experts in our company that sells that stuff. I don't sell asset-based long-term care or long-term care products. We have insurance representatives that do, but it's a solution to what you're just describing, Rick, is very expensive long-term care. And I'll have to bring somebody on. I'll have to go chase somebody.
Yeah, chase one of your people down. Speaking of that, and speaking of something that is another news story and all along those lines, we're approaching a deadline, and I don't know how many of you folks, I know I've still got to get mine and everything, but it is May 7th, which is next month, and everything is the Real ID deadline. So does everybody here have their Real ID? Because apparently it can be hard to get, because sometimes the offices aren't open, as well as I think Kim has brought that up as well. But
wait, how am I get a Real ID? I live in Barcelona, Spain, Mark. How am I getting this Real ID?
You said you won't be able to come back into the country.
But your passport, I think, can work as Real ID, right?
Okay.
Well, no, because now they're requiring both at the airport.
Really?
Yeah, Mark.
Where do I get this Real ID in Spain? Where do I get the Real ID? Or do I have to go back to the US to get it?
Well, it says you got less than a month and it's required for U.S. flight.
They're making it more difficult for people to come back into the U.S. right now if you do not have the proper ID. And then if they targeted you on Facebook or anything else that posted something they didn't like, then they're just going to hold you at the gate. You're not.
That's fine. I'm taking my girlfriend with me when I come to the U.S. My girlfriend, they're not going to like Sue. Sue is a bad girl.
Yeah, well,
Sue,
I'll put it this way. They wouldn't like your wife either. I think she would definitely rip them a new understanding of the Constitution.
Yeah,
because your wife is very smart. So, but I personally, Nick, just, coming in, check and double check everything before you do, because they did say that March was the deadline. But that's not just for international travel. That is for national travel as well.
Yeah.
But, Nick, how long are you going to be here for?
Several weeks. I've got meetings in Tampa. I have meetings in Raleigh. I have meetings in Salt Lake. So I'm going to be there.
You're going to be here through mid-June?
I'll be there till, I'm going to my 50th year reunion. So I'm going to be there till June 14th.
Which one?
My high school reunion.
Oh,
That's the one
Florida.
You
that.
know, high school students I really never associated with. They probably don't know who I am.
No, but you know, we had one of your high school
I
students
was a
on
good chess
the
player.
Sasha
No one
show.
did.
Wasn't he like the year before you or the year after you?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
wasn't
we'll have
Jonathan in
to
your
pull
class?
that for Nick. But
What?
Nick, what I was going to do was invite you to go to the Little House on the Prairie reunion, which is June 6th through June 8th. And then they're going to be filming, I guess, a homecoming episode of all of those who are still alive. If you've seen that video that they have been posting, but we got to interview them last night. Well, Mark did. I just kind of sat there with goo eyes. But you know, they were a big part of our youth. You know, back in the day, if you got to watch TV.
I didn't watch television. I just played chess.
I know you didn't. But you know, Nick read books, which, you know, we all should have done. But Little House on the Prairie was kind of like that approved watched show for everyone in the household. As I heard last night from one guy on TikTok, he goes, yeah, I had no choice. My household was all women, so I had to watch it instead of Battlestar Galactica, which came out a year after.
Right.
But you know, they're having their reunion. They were good, wholesome family quality programming back in the day, and people still watch them. Like, I piped the interview through TikTok, got 10,000 likes, a lot of views, and people were commenting, oh my God, I watched them when I was younger. Oh my God, my son watches them now. My dad watches. So you know, definitely.
What day is all this Little House on the
small
Prairie?
town in California that is an old Western style town. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, what day? Because I could fly back from Tampa up to Raleigh.
It's June 6th through June 8th.
June 6th to the 8th.
Yeah, I'm booking to go there. A friend of mine's getting hopefully a place for us to stay, and we're gonna go. But yeah.
Raleigh or Durham, or where is it?
No, it's in California, Columbia.
California. I gotta go all the way to California.
Yeah, send you across the country.
Yeah, you gotta go hang out with you gotta go hang out with Rick and see the California folks. But like Kim said, Allison Arkham, who is the one that played the main villain, as well as Dean Butler, were great guests, and they were fun. And definitely, if you go back and watch the show, you can hear the interview that we had with them and everything like that. But it was definitely
where's the show at so I can watch it?
It's on Pod TV. That's what I said. It was
right,
Pod
so
TV on Dinner Party.
for Sasha. So the market is back down about 2.5% today. Is now a time to buy, or we still?
Sasha, you need to know this. You have to
Wait
tell
till
us.
the tariffs hit again.
Rick wants to make another $27 real quick. Come on.
Well, there are ways to make a quick buck, even in a market like this. As long as there is market and there is something is trading, something is going higher, something is going lower, there is always opportunities to make some money.
That's true.
If you think about it, trillions of dollars are being traded every day on NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, or so on. You have to be a real idiot not to make at least a couple of $100 a day if you want it. In today's market, okay, let me tell you something, what's happening right now. In today's market, obvious buys are gold and silver. I have bigger position in silver because in percentages, it may move higher than gold. It may not, but it could. So silver there is an instrument by the name iShares, Silver Trust Shares. The symbol is SLV. I have a small position in that one. I had bigger, but I sold some at a profit yesterday, so I'm back building my position on SLV. I have about 1,000 shares right now. It's trading at last price was 28.21, so it's relatively inexpensive instrument. In gold, okay, I have gold GLD, but this is much more expensive. It's cost like almost $300 a unit. So But if you want to diversify, you can have that as well. Now, on stocks, of high-tech stocks, I think the biggest potential opportunity to make some money is with Broadcom. I have a very small position. I just have 200 shares. It went up yesterday as everything else, but you have to understand what's happened yesterday. It's not normal market, because yesterday was auction of 10 years notes, and from the morning the bonds were depressed. The prices were going down so much that Trump had no choice as to capitulate to all this trade nonsense, and that lifted up the bonds 10 years ago, and the auction went relatively well. However, if you take 10% tariffs on all countries and add 124% on China, so on average you still have 23% of all goods coming to United States of America. It's an enormous surplus which somebody has to pay. And who is going to pay? American people, no one else. So European Union also took a pause just early morning today. But again, it's a pause. Nothing has been resolved. This 90 days nonsense is nothing. 90 days will run very quickly, and there is very little he can negotiate, while China is adamantly fight US until the very, very last dollar. They will not yield to any proposal by Trump. And European Union is there waiting. Nothing's been resolved. Therefore, the market will still have to go down. Recession is imminent. Either it will start in 90 days, once all the tariff talks will collapse, or it will start later this year anyway, regardless of tariff talks. So therefore, long term, market is down. It still have to lose another 20-25%. Short-term bounces is like yesterday. Well, something what was happening yesterday will not be ever possible again. But some basically maybe 2-3 percentage point up. Yes.
So Sasha, we definitely need more conversations like this, because I don't think people really understand the shifts of what's going on and why. And this storm is really chaotic. I do have something funny I want to share with everyone about a video. It's a video on how to buy and share in today's storm. Actually, I would recommend watching Sasha's show, but this is just a little funny clip I got. Please enjoy for a minute. So there you go. Buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And that's how Warner Brothers recommends you buy and sell your stocks today.
They've got a good idea and everything. Hey, Sasha, I did have a quick question for you.
Really funny.
I did have, that was funny. I did have a quick question for you and everything along those lines. How many prisoners are there in U.S. how many U.S. citizens are there that are prisoners in Russia and everything like that? Do you have any idea? Because we had this major trade of a ballet and dancer and beautician who apparently was given aid to Ukrainian, because that's what she was convicted of. She was convicted for allegedly raising money for the Ukrainian military, and it was for a U.S. charity. And in return, apparently we sent them Arthur Pedrov, a dual German-Russian citizen who was arrested in 2023 in Cyprus at the request of the U.S., and he had been accused of exporting sensitive microelectronics to Russia. So we sent them back. We sent him back, and then she's come back. But are there still a lot of those prisoners there, or is this much ado about nothing, to borrow your phrase, and everything?
Obviously, nobody reported to me how many prisoners there are, but Russians see it as a very profitable activity, because they can catch some absolute unsuspecting. This girl you mentioned, she raised $50 for Ukrainian army, so she's got 12 years prison term. So Russians feel it's very profitable. They will catch all kind of nationals, especially Americans. I would recommend Americans not to go to Russia for any reason whatsoever.
Well, apparently you don't want to go anywhere, because the other articles that I saw in The Guardian, and Kim has alluded to this before, and I'd love to hear her thoughts about this, but there's an article saying, is the world really becoming hostile to American tourists? And they're saying leave the MAGA cap at home. So if you got a MAGA cap, you got one of those lovely red MAGA caps, you don't want to take it anywhere in the world.
I would hate to see what they would do if they found it in your suitcase.
I just tell people I'm from Canada.
To travel right now. People are being thrown in prison, mysteriously missing, dying. I mean, there's a lot. There's always a lot going on. Always a lot. But I asked someone, why haven't we heard reports about mass shootings in the United States? And I think it's just because there's so much chaos going on with Trump that we're not really seeing them, because I go out and look and find out there are still mass shootings going on in the United States. So I think
Trump's doing something good after all.
What?
Trump's doing something good after all. He's taking the attention away from mass shooting.
Well,
Wait,
and
Kevin's got a video for us to check out. What is this
Toby's
about?
got something for us. What is this? This looks like walk.
Thank you for joining. As you are aware, U.S. President Donald Trump has imposed a 10% tariff on all exported goods from our sovereign, windswept homeland, the Heard and McDonald Islands. Now, some have described our territory as uninhabited, others as barren or inhospitable. Even more have described it in detail by saying, there are no humans here. These people are correct, except we are here. We have always been here, watching, standing, sometimes waddling. True, we may not export goods in the traditional sense, unless you count style, contempt, and the occasional puffin who is really, really lost. Stupid puffins. But it's the principle. To target our proud penguin nation with tariffs is a declaration, not of war. We're not saying that because we're penguins and not big on fighting. Hard to punch someone with flippers. But we are saying we know where the fish are. And we control the supply. Kinda, maybe, I don't know. We're penguins. We say a lot of If President Trump believes that Heard and McDonald Islands pose an economic threat to the United States, we humbly suggest that he look inward and possibly at a map that hasn't been sharpied yet. This is not the first time we have been underestimated. Actually, it may be. There's no way of knowing. Again, we're penguins. But let it be known, we are not simply just birds in little suits. We are birds in tuxedos. Speak off, Trump. Thank you. No questions.
Donald Trump's got a golf course in Aberdeen. They've had to put extra security.
Yep. Good point.
Mark, I would like to ask you, is there going to be a show today at 5 o'clock?
Yes, there will be a show at 5 o'clock.
Because I have a lot of more to say about economics and the stocks and what's happening, but I'll leave it until 5.
No problem.
Absolutely, everyone. Just be prepared. You know, we could sit here and joke and make fun about things, and sometimes it's good to do that, to get it off your chest a little bit. But more important, be prepared. Take care of yourselves, because this economic storm is not going to go away. You know, egg prices definitely didn't go down. And, you know, he's saved us nothing so far. He's caused us much anguish, not just here in the United States, but globally. And be careful when you travel. Watch your steps.
I know we're ending the show and everything, but I do have to say, and I'm not a Trump fan and everything, but the prices of eggs did go slightly down, at least at Food Line, because I ordered some yesterday and they were like, because even my mom was shocked. They were like 3 something or 4 something versus the 7 something that they used to be. So they might have been coming down slightly and everything. But
just to point out about the egg prices, The reason egg prices are going down is because, yes, bird flu is receding a little bit. Also,
Right.
we've been here's the key thing. We're importing eggs. However, we're now putting tariffs on those same eggs. So they're going to go back up.
So go back up. I agree with you on that.
Oh, the reason they
Well,
went
and
down was the solid economic performance of Donald J.
Well,
Trump.
and you
Come
know,
on, Toby, own up. It was Trump who brought the prices down. By the way, according to the data from the World Bank, the U.S. imported 1.4 million of products from Heard and McDonald Islands in 2022. Nearly all were machinery and electrical imports. So even though they make fun of the poor little islands,
Them daggone
apparently they're a
penguins are
global powerhouse when it comes to
them
import.
penguins working hard.
In other words, this is from the World Bank data. So you can go look it up. It's on the internet. It's on Wikipedia.
How much are they paying the penguins for all of that? I'd like to know.
Well, there are penguins, but it's an Australian. It's owned by the country of Australia, and every now and then they send Australians in to gather up penguins and ship them with a huge profit.
Build it and put
The
up
thing is, they're right.
That's the problem.
You
So I
know.
will say this, the CEO of Ford had made a comment that the tariffs may have looked like they were going to make, home built, onshore built products would be cheaper, but he's got to buy those products and they come from offshore with tariffs. So it didn't help any. It didn't help our automakers any. It didn't help the manufacturing that has been being built here onshore. So, people use your brain a little bit, do the math. And if you don't know how, watch our shows because we talk about it. But I do business plans all the time. And I could tell you right off the bat, it's going to take you years to build up to be able to do the manufacturing. I've been saying this, as well as you got to buy that product from somewhere. So either you're going to wait for someone else to manufacture it or buy it with the tariff. So his tariffs didn't help us. They don't.
And on that note, we're going to get on out of here. We'll have more of this discussion at World Politics at 5 o'clock, and Sasha's got more to say at that particular time. So right now, we're going to get on out of here.